Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, let's pull up the screen here, see what we're going to talk about. All right, we're going to talk about the transfer portal some. We seem to be leading for a freshman All-American. We'll be talking about him. Also, the Vols crushed Georgia last night. It wasn't really much of a contest, and we may have ourselves a future star in Awaka. We're going to talk about him a little bit, and we're going to talk all things Vols. All right, a lot's been happening. As you know, of course, Heupel had his big raise. And also, Danny White got a raise as well. That in no way surprised me. I thought for sure Danny White would get a raise as well. And I think he got his money pretty much doubled up to about $2 million a year with the guaranteed 5% raises, et cetera. And, of course, Heupel went to $9 million a year. And I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. He's now the fifth highest paid coach in the SEC. Look, the money's in the SEC. And if you want to keep a good coach, especially one that just went 11-2, beat Bama, beat a bunch of good teams, you're going to have to pay. That's the way it is. Otherwise, somebody's going to come in and take him. And I showed you this yesterday. This is Vols offensive scoring. And back when we had the Pruitt man, we were 109th in offense with 21.5 points per game. Then Heupel showed up with the same guys basically, minus a bunch that left. And he brought in a few transfer guys, and all of a sudden he almost doubled our scoring and wound up 7th in the country at 39.3. Then he was able to get a few more of his guys in, 46.1, and went to first in offense. So that's how important coaching is. Coaching is so important in college sports, it's unbelievable. It really is. And we've got a bunch of good coaches. You know, Rick Barnes is killing it. And we've got Tony Vitello, who's handling our baseball for us, and he's doing a fantastic job. So I think this is about as healthy as we've been in a long time as far as coaching is concerned. And having a good athletic director is really important because he makes a lot of key decisions as far as who our coaches are a lot of times. And when he brought in Josh Heupel, I'll be the first to tell you, I wasn't excited about it. I was wrong. It's turned out to be a great hire. Way better than I could have possibly expected. And had I looked at his numbers everywhere he's been, these are the quarterbacks that he's had over the last 8 years. And look at the touchdowns to interception ratio all down the line. I mean, it's huge multiples of touchdown versus interceptions. And Hendon Hooker here, 31-3, 27-2. And then Joe Milton, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I mean, that's just what happens wherever Heupel goes. He's kind of the Pied Piper of quarterbacks. And when you're scoring a bunch of touchdowns and not throwing interceptions, you're going to win a lot of ball games. It's just the way it is. And that's how he schemes it. So I think we're getting a good deal. Now let's talk about the game last night with Georgia. And before I get into the game with Georgia last night and then into the transfer portal, I made a mistake on yesterday's video, a pretty big one.
No way.
Yes way. Yep, I made a mistake. I was covering George McIntyre, who's a 5-star quarterback. He's for the 2025 recruiting class, and I forgot to show his highlights. But I got called out for it by one of the viewers.
Pardon me, Mr. Perfect. I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake.
Yep, and I'm glad they did, or I would not even have realized it until way later. So anyway, I am going to show those highlights of George McIntyre, the 5-star that we have a real good shot at, and he's in state. Very important to remember he's in state. But first, let's talk about Georgia and the Vols last night. All right, start out. Of course, they whooped them by 29 points. It wasn't really much of a ball game. By the end of the half, it was pretty much over. And Tennessee shot the ball decently. You know, they didn't light it up. 42%, less than 30% from three-point land. Georgia didn't shoot the ball well at all, which is pretty typical because of our defense. And nobody really scored a ton of points. Ziegler was the leading scorer for the Vols with 11. They obviously didn't have very many people score. But everybody scored consistently, you know, 8, 8, 6, 5. And here's Awaka at 10. And Awaka, I'm going to tell you something, in only 13 minutes scored 10 points, 3 rebounds. And this guy is a very interesting player. Now, Awaka is 6'8", 250 pounds, and he's incredibly strong on the boards. I've been watching him for the last several games, really since the beginning of the season, and I just kept seeing that the guy kind of flashed a little bit. And you kept seeing him play, and he's real quiet. You know, he's kind of unassuming. He doesn't appear to be as big as he really is, but he's strong, and he seems to always get the rebound, and he's, you know, just a real nice player. And last night, you know, he filled it up. He was 4 for 4 from the stripe and made 3 for 3 on his shots and scored 10 points, got 3 rebounds, and just kind of cleaned up the boards whenever he was in there. I've been watching him consistently get better almost every game. And I think Rick Barnes is really high on this dude and thinks he's going to be a heck of a player, and I can certainly see it. You know, he seems to have all the skills that you're looking for, and nobody's going to push him around at 6'8", 250. I don't care how big the guy is. Awaka is going to be able to stick with him no problem. Now, normally when I think of Awaka, I'm thinking of either this person or this person, and neither one could get confused with this fella. But anyway, keep an eye on this dude, because he might end up being a really good player for us long term, especially with Rick Barnes working with him. I mean, Rick Barnes is the perfect coach for this guy, because remember what he did for these two fellas. These were low 3-stars that nobody wanted, and all of a sudden, a couple of years later, they're in the NBA. So what he could do with Awaka could be really strong, because he's got a lot to work with there. Now, as far as Georgia is concerned, look, you know, Georgia's not that good a team. We've been kind of whooping up on some teams that aren't that good. First LSU and now Georgia.
Hey, put yourself down now. You're not good. You stink.
Yeah, neither one of them are very good. That's just to be frank about it. But Tennessee is really good, and they play fantastic defense. They're very deep, and they're very well coached. And I think this is yet another good team that could finish, you know, look, they're Final Four bound if they can just get through a few games in the NCAA and they don't have injuries. You know, that's pretty critical, because having James back is a big deal. James is obviously the glue to the team. He doesn't do anything too flashy, but what he does do well is he plays really good defense. He rebounds. He's calm. He keeps the guys all level. And when he's hitting his threes, nobody can stop him, because he is the type of guy that can create his own shot. And I keep saying that about him. We don't have a lot of players that can do that, and he is one that can. And I'm telling you, if he's filling up from three, we're going to win the ball game. So I just see this team getting better as the year goes on, and we're 7-1 in the conference now, and I think 17-3. So, you know, this is a team that's going to be it's going to be seated really high, probably a 1 or a 2, and we'll see how the rest of the year goes. But you know, it's looking really good for the Vols basketball team. All right, now we're going to talk about the transfer portal. And we've got a cornerback that we're looking at picking up. Now, we already picked up Gabe Jeudy-Lally, who's a very good cover corner out of BYU, but we really need a second one. And they are looking strongly at this guy I'm getting ready to show you, which is Davison. And it's really hard to say his last name. It's Igba something or other. I'm just butchering it.
Uumellmahaye. Oh, Melmahay?
Yes.
But anyway, I'm just going to call him Davison. And this guy is a freshman All-American. He was at Ole Miss, and he's entered the transfer portal, and he's been talking to the Vols quite a bit. And I think we're the leader in the clubhouse for him. I know that he's in the directory for the university, and he's just done that in case he does decide to attend. He can already be in there. That doesn't mean that he's committed or anything like that. But I think we are the leader for him, and he would be a great pickup for us, because he played really well last year. Like I said, he got All-American freshman honors. So he would be a very nice cover corner for us, which is our biggest weakness is in the secondary. You know, our defensive line played really well last year, but our weakness, again, was secondary. And that's not going to change until we just continue to stack up some great defenders in that backfield. And this guy would be a really nice addition, and I think we could feel good about the team as far as secondary is concerned with these last two additions, plus all our freshmen coming in, because we've got Jordan Matthews, Gibson, Conyer, all down the line, a couple of nice safeties, and a couple of real nice linebackers. So I think we're getting a lot better in the secondary, and this guy would be a great pickup for us. So we'll be keeping a very close eye on this, and hopefully we'll have some good news for you in a matter of days. Now, lastly, I want to talk to you about George McIntyre. I covered him yesterday, and I forgot to put his highlights in, and they're really good, and you need to see them. And again, he's 6'5". He's only 180 pounds, but he's just a sophomore. So, you know, he'll pick up 20, 30 pounds easy over the next 2 years. But when you see these highlights, you'll understand why the Vols are so high on him, and he is a 5-star in-state player. All right, now let's watch some of these highlights. As you can see, he's got real nice touch on the long passes, a la Hendon Hooker. Right here, of course, he's in the shotgun. All the kids are playing out of shotgun. Drops a dime. You know, and you expect to see some of that, but you're going to see some other skills that this fella's got. There he is in between the two defenders, throwing a nice touch pass. Once again, a really nice deep ball, perfectly timed which you've got to do for the Vols. We can't have underthrows and overthrows. There he is showing some of his elusiveness. You know, he's 6'5", but look at him. See, he does not panic. Then he throws yet another dime. Perfect. Again, watch him avoid. Does not panic. Sends his guy down. And again, this guy's, what, 15, 16 years old. Now watch him avoid. Run. Don't panic. Then makes the great play to where only his receiver can catch it. There he is again, showing that ability to get away. And then, I mean, that pass right there is ridiculous. You're not going to see a better pass under duress. And what this guy can do is he can throw off platform, which is what you need for the Vols. We've got to have a guy that can scramble around a little bit and throw off platform. And that's something Hendon Hooker does really well. And there you go. As you see, he just keeps dropping dimes. And this guy threw for over 20 touchdowns and only 4 interceptions. So he throws as pretty a deep ball as I've seen. And again, off platform, perfect pass. And that's why I wanted you to see that. Like I said, I just totally forgot to put it in yesterday's video. Don't know how I did it. But anyway, we're also real high on Cutter Boley, who is a very similar player, very athletic. He's 6'5", about 200 pounds. He'll probably be about 230 by the time he's a senior. And he throws off platform beautifully as well. This guy just showed you McIntyre's a basketball player as well, so he's very athletic, and he can move around the pocket. He can run if he needs to. Same thing with Cutter Boley. You know, they're not kids that are just gangly and just can't do anything. Look, they can run because you've got to run in Josh Heupel's offense, period. And both these guys can do it, and they're both high on the Vols. And I think the Cutter Boley's been down in Knoxville 5 times, and McIntyre's also been here a couple of times, and he's pretty excited about the Vols as well. And we don't get too many 5-star quarterbacks in state. All right, folks, just wanted to cover those stories for you. Vols lead for an All-American, and, of course, the Vols crushed Georgia last night. So good story there, and I wanted to add that George McIntyre film on there. Hopefully I don't mess it up this time. Now, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols and the SEC. And if you've not subscribed, it's right here on the left. Costs you absolutely nothing, and it helps me, and I would definitely appreciate it. A lot of you watch my videos, and you don't hit that little button. It's just dook, and you're done. And right over here, YouTube puts my most recent video. Be sure to check that one out. It's pretty popular. And I hope you did like the content. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.